describe a time when the custom insurance coverage deeply affected your farming operation or someone you know.
Many years ago, our dairy farm in Northern California, there was an attempted unionization. It ended up being the largest union fight in California dairy history. Luckily, we had great representation, but that fight over 18 months cost our dairy about $25,000 a month in legal fees. We lost key employees. There was some attempted wage and hour litigation that we avoided because of our counsel. But, you know, we had no coverage for this. So we were paying dollar for dollar out of our net income. And that was a huge blow to our company. Right around the same time, another dairy not far from us had some wage and hour violations that cost them well over $1 million. And they were a much smaller dairy. So it was catastrophic. So, you know, here was a time when our company had exposure that we didn't anticipate, called fat tail exposure. And it was catastrophic, and we had no coverage. And it occurred to me there's got to be a better way. And it was a very, very difficult time.
And that's a brutal legal bill to have to swallow.
Oh, not just that, but you know, like I said, we lost key employees. There's a huge cost to that, having to go out and hire new folks while you're going through this daily battle. It was terrible. And we were successful, believe it or not, even though it cost us all that money. It could have been a lot worse. So, you know, the costs were huge. They could have been worse, and learned a lot from it.
Yeah. Can you describe your frustration or limitation with traditional insurance offerings for ag in general?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me say that commercial insurance has its place. It's fantastic, right? I mean, we're not trying to tell people that commercial insurance is not very valuable, but it has its limitations. And I just talked about one limitation there, but significantly, the types of coverage that you can get through a commercial carrier are very limited. They also tend to be one size fits all. And then, of course, all underwriting profits are captured by the commercial insurance company. Where a captive can really be helpful is a well-structured captive insurance program fills the gap in a company or farm's commercial insurance coverage. That's very important. That would have helped us out with our union battle. The coverages are tailored to the parent company's business and risk exposures and profile, which is super important. And then, of course, the underwriting profits are retained in the captive insurance company, which is owned by the parent company, as opposed to with commercial insurance, the underwriting profits are captured by the commercial carrier.
If you could go back in time, how would knowing about captive insurance have changed your approach to risk management in general?
Well, first, we have to assume that at that time, I would have been smart enough to start a captive insurance company. I certainly would be now. I'd like to think that I would have been then.
If somebody would have offered it to you, you probably would have.
Jumped at it, yeah, but there was nobody out there talking to us about it. So really what a captive does is it eliminates what's called a principal agent problem, and that would have eliminated that. So any efforts to reduce risk for my company or reduce risk losses, right? We would have retained the benefits of the reduced losses. So we'd have as opposed to our cap, you know, if we had an outside carrier covering those losses, they would benefit from the efforts of us reducing those risk losses. Primarily, we would have had some benefit too, but we would not retain the benefit as we would if we had had a captive. So what that means is that we as a company would have a greater incentive to reduce our risk losses, right? So we have things that we're covered within our captive, but we don't want to have losses because we retain the underwriting profits. What that means is that would have been better for our business, would have been better for my family, would have been better for our employees. It would have been better for everybody that touches our company, really.
Yeah, I like that. How did it make you feel for your clients knowing that their hard work in managing risks can directly contribute to their farming operation success and growth and taking care of their family?
Well, I'm a farmer, so I mean, I get the challenges. I love working with farmers and farming families. They're good people. I feel lucky that that's what I get to do. But farming is hard, and it has a lot of risks. And I feel like farming families should reap the benefits of their hard work and the risks that they take. So with a captive in place, you risk better. You increase your company's profitability if you are a good operator. And it also aids these farming families. It aids their continuity from one generation to the next. And of course, having a greater profitability offers a farming family more flexibility. So in summary, it makes me feel great. And it's something I want for my farms. And, again, these are good people. They feed the world. I mean, literally California farms feed the world, and the United States farms feed the world. So it's great to help these folks. And I think that they deserve it.
As you help farmers and ranchers leverage captive, what hopes or concerns emerge for you and your founder?
Well, our concerns are primarily farming risks, and more specifically, uncovered risks, right? For which these families and farms have these exposure risks, but they have no coverage. As I mentioned before, farming has a ton of risks. That's the nature of the beast. And by better managing these risks, we can have better outcomes for these farmers year to year. So we know, many of these risks that are not covered, we talk about wage and hour risk, things like that. These are growing in today's world. They're not decreasing. And we see more and more litigation around things like wage and hour. And traditional insurance just leaves gaps there. So we want to help bridge this gap for these families. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is we want to help farmers, ranchers, and their families be more successful in this generation and then future generations.
And what is the most exciting possibility that captive insurance opens up for your clients' farming operations?
Insurance has been a great business for years and years and years. This is why you see sports arenas named after insurance companies. But insurance is also great for the buyer. You're having covered for you as the buyer. So, it's great being covered by an insurance company, but it's arguably greater to own the insurance company. What a captive insurance company allows a farm or a business to do is to really reap the benefits of both sides of that coin. So that's absolutely huge. Again, you have risk covered, most often risks that are not currently covered. And then you retain the underwriting profits within your captive insurance company rather than losing those but at a ground level, I think what we're hoping to bring to our clients is peace of mind. Again, a farmer knows the risks that he has covered through his current insurance, but he or she also knows the coverages for which they do not have the risks for which they do not have coverage. And those are probably the ones that keep them up at night. That's where a captive can come into place. So that's the thing, is peace of mind, but also as you more effectively manage your risk as a company, you increase your profitability. So we're gaining coverage for risk exposure means you operate, and then you operate your business well, reduce losses, you retain the underwriting profits, and therefore a family, you're more profitable. And that increased profitability just increases the options for you as a family moving forward.
It's kind of like it's like a reward for being a good operator that you're captive for it.
Yeah, very simply, I've said that, again, nothing against commercial insurance. It's fantastic. It has its place. I buy it. It's great. Okay. But it's one tool. But at the end of the day, if the coverage is the commercial insurer is covering your company, if you reduce those risks, most of that benefit flows to the traditional insurer. They keep your premiums.
Right.
Whereas with a captive, we're kind of flipping this on its head. You're paying your own company. You own captive insurance company. So the farmer pays premiums for these policies that are retained, that are within the captive. Therefore, any net of any losses, the premiums are retained within the captive insurance company. So you have a higher incentive to make sure you're not having losses there, because you keep the difference, right? So yeah. I mean, it's straightforward, but it's hard to get your head around because we're all used to insurance working one way. We've all bought car insurance, and, you know, homeowners insurance and insurance for our business, but this is flipping it on its head.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.